There is no program that collectively has come after me with as much fervor as Notre Dame fans have. Now, they've been a lot smaller. It's not been an army. It's been like a kind of a mafia. But man, they've been so adamant in the DMs and the emails about we need to get the Notre Dame mood tracker. So it's Notre Dame mood tracker time tonight. Premier purgatory is the mood around South Bend. This is very counterintuitive. Premier and purgatory. Those are not, it's alliteration, I'll grant you that, but it's not a couple of words that you ever hear joined together. It's a rare recipe, I'll grant you that, because you need two things. Number one, to be premier, I mean, obviously you got to be operating at a level that leads you to be the envy of 95% of college football. But yet, you've also got to be stuck somewhere where you're still solidly looking up at the other 5% and there's some distance between you and the 5%. This was one of the easiest moods to track. Premier purgatory. I was over on irishillustrated.com today, over on the board there, and I was asking, what is your mood? Give me one word, one phrase. What's the mood here? And someone said purgatory. And they said it's a nice theme, falls in line with Catholicism. You want to go that route, go that route. I just slapped premier on the front of it because there is, rightfully so, a lot of pride and excitement about Notre Dame football. This program, over a rolling stretch, you could argue is operating at the highest level it has in several generations. You don't have to win playoff games and national championships to be a really good program. But having said that, they didn't get here yesterday. Like, I think it's 4 out of the last 5 or 5 out of the last 6 years they've won double-digit games. Well, once you get there, and then you're still there, and then you're there again. They had like a 4-8 season in there somewhere, but you know, if you subtract the best and worst out of this stretch, they're a double-digit win caliber program. But then that's it. Okay, so that's premier, but yet you're still kind of stuck purgatorily. If it didn't exist before, it does now. Below the big boys. You're tier 1, or you're tier 2. You're solidly tier 2. The goal is to be tier 1, and they know it. That's the thing about Notre Dame fans. They know it. There's no irrationality. I have not had a single person come to me and say, fire Brian Kelly. I have not had a single person come to me and say, I'm out. You know, we can't beat Alabama, so I'm done with Notre Dame football. There's none of that. But there's also a lot of, man, I wish we could just get quarterback figured out, or I wish we could add some talent at wide receiver, the likes of which the other big boys have, because Notre Dame fans, they watch Tua Tagovailoa and Trevor Lawrence or Baker Mayfield, Justin Fields. They see all that and they look at their TV screen or they look at the field in person and they say, two things that we realize. Firstly, you got to have one of those if you're going to win a championship. And secondly, we don't have one. And we haven't had one in quite a while. And then they look at guys like Devontae Smith or someone like that and they say, you got to have some of those guys too. And we don't have those. And quite simply, that is what has separated Notre Dame from being a true championship contender. There's a wide gap in this sport between being a playoff contender and a championship contender. It seems like, well, how is that? It's only one more game. It's a Grand Canyon to cross, believe me, if you don't have the right quarterbacks and wide receivers guiding you. So I asked someone today who I trust implicitly about Notre Dame football, just out of curiosity. I'm doing the mood tracker tonight. What is your mood, one word or phrase? And they said 2 years away from truly being a title contender, 2 years away. This year's team will be another solid team. You don't look, Jack Cohn comes in on the transfer market, like you don't look at quarterback right now and figure, yeah, Notre Dame, they'll finally have it at quarterback this year. They'll finally have it at receiver this year. Crazier things have happened, but a lot of the hope is not being placed on the shoulders of Jack Cohn. It's being placed on the shoulders of Tyler Buckner. Tyler Buckner is a true freshman. This year, the hope, from this person at least, was that 1 year later, we will have found out, for better or for worse, what we really have there. And then we'll be able to go to work, and, you know, it's another recruiting class under your belt. But I do want to address, before we move on and close it here, the Notre Dame is overrated crowd. It just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't know where it comes from. I hear it a lot. Like Notre Dame's made the playoffs a couple of times the last few years, and I get told Notre Dame's overrated. According to what? According to what scale out there is Notre Dame overrated on? I have not seen anyone worth their salt, anyone of any credibility, point to this program and say they're right there with Alabama. They're right there with Clemson. They're superior to or equal to Ohio State, Bama, Clemson. No one says that with any credibility. If they said it, that would be someone overrating Notre Dame. No one says that. What they do say is, once you get past those programs, your Georgias of the world, you know, your Oregons, like, we are right there in line with what any of these other folks out here are doing. So, yeah, there may be 2 or 3 of them that we can't compare to, but we'll compare our product favorably with anyone else you want to trot out there in America. That's not overrating Notre Dame. That's an accurate picture of what Notre Dame football has been. Like, they have been a northern version of what Georgia has been. Oklahoma's won a few more games, but they've kind of been what Oklahoma has been. A really, really good program, better than 90+% of the sport. They haven't gotten over the playoff hump. They haven't won a championship, but yet they're, whatever the next tier is, they're right there. Notre Dame's not overrated. If I say that about Notre Dame, I'm just giving you an accurate portrayal of Notre Dame. Just because you keep running into Alabama and Clemson and losing, and those are the only teams knocking you off, that doesn't mean you're overrated. Theoretically, the number 4 team in the country would have that problem. You keep running into the number 1 and number 2 teams in America, and those are the ones beating you. Well, that doesn't mean you're not top 5. It just means you're not top 2. So Notre Dame's right there. Quarterback, wide receiver. Get those positions figured out, and you get that championship drought figured out.